This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurial the Playbook, and I have another David. It seems to be a trend. David Kohler, the CEO and founder of SCP Auctions, who I've actually known for years and has one of the most interesting businesses. But beyond having one of the most interesting businesses, this is the coolest set I've ever been in. And it's not a set, it's actually a room at your house.
Yes.
Let's just give a little bit of background first on what SCP Auctions is, and then allow this to kind of flow backwards into how are we sitting into a room with the most Laker memorabilia in the entire world?
It all started when I was young, doing cards, collecting cards as a kid in high school and all that, and developed into a big business, my company SCP Auctions. And we handle the best of the best sports memorabilia around the world.
Did you go to college?
I went to college. I wanted to be a doctor, and so
your parents wanted you to be a doctor. Which one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. One of the two. Probably my parents more. No, but I tried that for a couple of years while I was doing the sports memorabilia and baseball card business, sports cards business. So there was a little struggle there, and running around buying and selling stuff back then when I was a teenager. But developed the company and built it into a very, very big company. Doing high-end sports memorabilia, setting a lot of records, some things selling in the millions of dollars and everything in between. And then also handling a lot of the estates and actual collections for the athletes. We have a big niche in that. We've done over 50 Hall of Famers from all the different sports. And it's been quite a ride.
Throughout that evolution, right, people are wondering, you're like me, 17 and a half year overnight success. Right, it builds it.
Right.
But yeah, everyone's like, oh yeah, look at this beautiful room and house and everything. Yeah, it just came overnight.
Yeah.
One of the things that holds true in the collectible industry is relationships. And a lot of times on the playbook, we don't talk about the importance of relationships, but as you're kind of describing the launch from high school into college and continuing your business, I could only think, because we're about the same age, it was all about relationships when we were buying and selling things. It was like people knowing word of mouth. Oh, you got that card? I know a guy that'll give you money for it.
Yes.
And what's funny is I know your business today, which we'll get into, you're still, even though we have a tremendous amount of digital presence in the world, this room and your business is off of relationships and word of mouth more than some sort of great promotion in media on Instagram.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's without question, it's relationships. And as you said, there's a path there and years go by, but you get to know a lot of people, you do business authentic, and people want to do business with you. Relationships come out of it, and as the industry grows, when I started, there was no computers, there was no internet, and again, I'm probably dating myself, but
me.
But we go to shows, we go to conventions, we did mail order, you did telephone sales. That's just how you did it. But we sell sports. People love it. It's never going away, and obviously today it's a lot easier to connect and establish more relationships and do all those things through the way the world is working today.
Yeah, and the exposure and awareness through those relationships as well, though, that there's this emotional attachment to sports. It can work for and against you, being in the sports industry for so long and hiring people and going through people who want to build careers in sports. It works in your favor that you're emotionally attached to what you're doing because some people will sell tickets at the stadium just to see the game or hot dogs to walk in the stands. But I think it also in business works against you in the respect that, first of all, to get into the business, it's much more difficult because people won't pay you as much to do the exact same work because of the emotional attachment. But the first step is to have the courage and passion to tell your parents or your aunts and uncles, grandparents, friends, after, obviously you did well in school, growing up in LA, to want to be a doctor like myself, being pre-med, to sit there and say, hey, I'm gonna sell baseball cards for a living. You're gonna drop out of med school, going to,
right.
Can you talk us through how exactly, your mindset was when you're approaching your parents to say, as much as you wanted to be a doctor, you'd rather sell trading cards?
Yeah. At the time, that was my passion, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was already making some money and doing these things, and I just, there were some things coming out. So the first price guides were coming out and books and things like that, and you could just kind of feel the momentum. And, I never graduated. I never actually got my degree because by my sophomore year, I said, I'm opening a store, and I rented a 350 square foot place for $350 a month. And I opened up and people started coming in and buying stuff. And then a few years later, we took the place over next door and we had 700 square feet. And we were like living large then, right?
Right.
For $700 a month, right? But it just worked and people loved the stuff. And you kind of figure it out. And like you said, relationships start developing out of that. You're dealing with some more athletes and other collectors and meeting people around the country, doing some things with the leagues. And you know, people, they want to deal with you. You know, if you're honest and you're forthright, the world's your oyster.
Absolutely, and there's so many different technological advancements as far as the verification process, right? There's an entire business in verifying
authentication. Yeah.
Authentication. Do you do, because you are an expert in a lot of this, do you do anything within the authentication space other than make sure that everything that you sell is properly authenticated?
Right. That's a great question. We know the stuff really well. So when we take it in and we think it's authentic and real, we obviously then start processing it. But within that, then we have to take it to a third party. And there's a lot of companies that are, you know, not a lot, but there's some foremost ones. One is PSA that happens to be in our, you know, in our backyard. They're worldwide. They're the foremost, and we use them. So if it's for autographs, game-worn items, trading cards, original photos, they do a lot of categories. You know, they obviously do coins and stamps, and it's huge
They even
industries.
did the Dave Meltzer one-of-a-kind Topps baseball card.
Well, that's
going in this room somewhere.
That's priceless.
It's going to be my gift to you. It's PSA certified.
Beautiful.
You wait till you see it, yeah.
But I mean, that's a big thing because obviously we have to go through that process, that authentication, and then we put it out there for sale, whether we're selling it privately or putting it in one of our auctions. And that really was what makes this market go, because if someone's buying a signed Babe Ruth ball, whether it's one of the best ones or it's just a lower grade one, but it's still a signed Ruth, we have to have that certification and paperwork with it, because when the people buy it, they have to know that's Babe Ruth's signature on there, period. And if they ever want to sell it, whether it's 10 years from now or they give it to their family and they sell it 50 years from now, it's still a Babe Ruth ball. There's the paperwork, and that stays with it for the rest, you know, from then on.
So I think one of the highest price items you ever sold was a game-worn jersey by Babe Ruth, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4.4 million.
Verified, authenticated.
Yes.
If it wasn't authenticated, what is the difference in price, do you think? In just percentage? Because I know it went for millions.
Probably 10 cents on the dollar. That's
Really?
how important it is that, you know, it's just paramount that you have all that authentication process that goes with it. And then the buyers show up. That uniform is actually sold, you know, we sold it many years ago. That's traded hands for like 7 million since then.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people buy these things and they keep them forever, 20, 25 years, or hand them down to their family.
35 years.
Yeah, 35 years. And then there's other people, obviously, that may sell stuff in a year or 5 years later or whatever. But at the end of the day, they love this stuff. We're selling sports. We're a part of that whole group. And so many people, like, when they find out that you can actually buy, a lot of it's just they don't know that something's available. So if they know, let's say, that you can actually buy a Babe Ruth game-used bat, that's a bat that he actually used, that was in his hands. People don't know that those are actually available with all of the paperwork, and they have all the records from Louisville Slugger. They know everyone that was made. If it shows up in an attic, they can look at it immediately and weigh it and look at all the markings to say, yeah, this is Babe Ruth's bat or it's not. And when people know that, they go, I'm in. How much is it? I want one of those.
Right. And just like experiences, I think the two things in sports are, you want the most wealthy people in the world to get something that they can't buy, right? And that's what the collectible side has. And now they're doing it with tennis shoes and apparel and bags. And through technology, you started with eBay as a marketplace, and then authentication became really important as well.
Yes.
And now StockX, right? There's actually a market that's created.
Yes.
And they, you know, use PSA, I know that, as well as others to verify. Even tennis shoes, I was there on a tour, and I'm like, how do you verify, you know, a Yeezy? You know, they're expensive tennis shoe. I said, believe it or not, you can smell the glue.
Wow.
Right? It has that glue, and so they can get through these things.
Amazing.
A lot of people look, because of digital nature of everything, at a jersey or a trading card and think, gosh, is the market still going to be there? Is, you know, that Heisman Trophy going to be worth something, or whatever it may be? What is your perspective? Is, you know, you've owned this business a long time. You know, what does it look like 10 years or 20 years from now, where are the differences in the market?
The differences are that the market with the internet has just opened it up where we can reach out. Clients can find out about us that in the old days you had to kind of be in our area, or maybe you heard about us in Southern California. Well, now, we have clients all over the world. There's a lot of basketball fans, as you know, over in China and over there, and they bid in our auctions. They can find us and figure out who we are once they see our website, what our reputation is, what we've sold in the past. So that's just, it's got so much more untapped business there for people that want to become collectors, or if they want to get in the business or whatever they may be doing. Again, like I said, we're selling sports. That's not going away. It's not a fad. And people love this stuff when they can buy a game-worn Kobe Bryant jersey, or an important football artifact of their favorite team or whatever it may be. That's done everything for us.
Or a life-size Shaq.
Life-size Shaq, exactly.
With his shoes and everything, signed. And you can take a picture with him. That's awesome. One of the other things that's interesting is you start a business at a young age, something that's a passion project that turns into a profitable business with your huge 300 square foot office for $300, and you tell your parents you leave. I think it's important for entrepreneurs to know the mindset when you're going into the business. Here we are 35 years later, you are the predominantly well-known great SCP Auctions is extraordinary worldwide, right? They trust what you do, you get incredible stuff. I've helped introduce you to incredible stuff, and I look forward to doing it more now. But I think it's important, when you started the business, what outcome did you attach to, if any?
What outcome? In what sense? Like the result?
Okay, I'm going to start this business and be, is it about owning a certain item, or millions of dollars, or thousands of employees, or a huge office, or being the richest man in the world? Or did you have another focus when you started the business of what you really wanted out of it?
You know what? I think when I started, I loved what I was doing, and I had no idea that the market would grow as much as it did, or the prices would go up and increase. Again, this is over 40 years, actually. We're on our 40th anniversary of the company. When I started in high school, it kind of develops over time, and you see the market grow, and after you see that, I just had the mindset of, hey, be the best that I can be at this. Now, it doesn't mean I have to have 100 employees. It doesn't mean that I have to have the biggest building. Just go, do this niche and set some records. Go do it right. And we really enjoy helping collectors build collections. And you can build world-class collections in time. And you don't have to have all the money in the world. It just depends how you want to go about doing it. And usually when we can get clients focused on certain areas of, hey, you like game-used bats, or do you like game-used jerseys of a certain team in whatever sport, or a favorite player, favorite team, favorite cards, whatever it is. Once they can become focused on how to go do that, they get into it more. And instead of just kind of like, well, I bought this over there and this over there, and they don't really have a theme. When they can have a theme, then they can really do something with it. And they may end up building a world-class net and then move on to some other new category that
Is there a lanyard category?
A what?
Lanyard category?
Well, we can start
one of the world's biggest lanyard
we can start one.
Signed by incredible people.
And then we'll get PSA to hold them, authenticate them. Yeah.
That's good. Excellent. Now, challenging question. You've done extraordinarily well as an entrepreneur. And your business has grown beyond your expectation. Nobody knew how big this really would get. If somebody would have told you that, at, let's say, 50 years old, that this business would grow enough where you would be comfortable in a 3,000 square foot home, your kids, can have stuff, but nothing extravagant in your life, would it have been worth it for you to stick with the business without all of this extraordinary success? Just, did you love it that much?
I would say I did, because I saw as I got older, a lot of other friends or other people we had met that really didn't like what they did after a while, and they didn't really have a choice, because you got your house payment and you got this and that, but you saw that they didn't really enjoy going to work every day. So obviously I feel blessed that I ended up doing something that I was really successful on, and a lot of these things came of it. But at the end of the day, if that didn't all happen, and like you said, you were in a small house and this and that, as long as you love what you're doing And at the end of the day, trying to be one of the best in whatever you do, you're going to be fine.
That's awesome. And, I give advice all the time, and I say people get focused in on money. I said the problem with focusing on money as your outcome is that it never comes fast enough. Even when we're successful monetarily,
Yes.
right? When you have a nice auction item, you don't acquire it quick enough, and it doesn't sell quick enough.
Right.
And so it's really important, I think, for young entrepreneurs or any entrepreneurs to understand that there's an acceleration in growth that comes by every day pursuing your potential. And I keep hearing that for what you're doing. Now, you have your own children, and some may want to work in the sports world. In fact, I know one of them does. What advice would you give? Because sports is such a broad term. You and I, people would say, have some of the best jobs in sports,
Yes.
but they didn't tell us about them when we were in college.
Right. Right.
We figured it out. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who wants to be involved in sports?
Again, I think, the first thing, probably should get your degree.
Okay.
I didn't.
That's good to know.
You don't,
It's
you don't
really
have to, but you probably
Yeah.
should. But after that, definitely it's just going and meeting people and getting into companies and figuring things out and what you really like to do. And for some people, that'll be like being part of maybe a big company that has a lot of employees. They might be comfortable with that. With a lot of people, they might want to just do their own thing or maybe just have a few employees or partners or whatever. And that's okay too, because in our market, you can actually do that. You don't have to have 100 employees. We don't have 100 employees. We never have 100 employees. So
That's why he's so happy. Employees and overhead, be careful.
for sure. And so, there is days that I've had that I become too involved in the management and, like you said, the overhead and bills and things like that. And then you end up going, wow, like the fun part of trying to get a deal done or talking to a client or going and meeting with a player, you're missing some of that. You don't have as much time as you used to. And so, there's days where I'm like, man, I've got to find somebody to take some of those things off my plate, because I'm getting away from the old days of the fun part, because like you said, you got a certain amount of overhead and employees and all those things.
More than $350, I imagine.
Yes, more than $350 a month, unfortunately.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Quick question, and then the last question. The quick question is, would you let your kids drop out of school to pursue, an e-sport business or something else?
I did just say, get your education first, your degree, but I actually would say I would be okay with that, actually, because I think it all comes down to, again, I keep using the word passion, but just how much do you really want it? And you're going to make your mistakes along the way. There's going to be disappointments and bad moves, but you're going to make up with them with all the great moves you're going to do and the right moves and the profitable things as you learn along the way. So that would be, my recommendation. As we know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are very, very successful already at the age 30 that may have started in high school. And we also know there's other people that are still in school and college at 30 or 27 that haven't even started an income. So, the world's different today. And just because you get your 4-year education, there's not all these jobs just sitting for there, as you know. So I think it's just all about
Case by case.
Case by case and your heart. What do you really want to do, and going and getting it.
I agree with that. All right, last question, because I couldn't do this anywhere else, but we are sitting in the biggest Lakers collection in the world, the most valuable Lakers collection in the world. Could you just, for a few minutes, for the audience, give them a little background of what exactly is in this room? Because the stories behind it are extraordinary. Just a few minutes for the highlights.
Sure.
You've bought people's collections that when they find out who you, they're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But what exists around me right now?
So this is the largest collection of one team in basketball known. We call it the Laker Shrine, but it's the largest collection of Laker memorabilia in the world. I started about 35 years ago. I grew up in Los Angeles and Orange County and loving the Lakers, and Jerry West was my hero, and then I was really liked Magic Johnson, got to know him a lot now. But I built this collection, and it includes the collections of some of the basketball greats that I got right from them. So George Mikan and Wilt Chamberlain and Chick Hearn, the famous announcer, and Elgin Baylor and Jamal Wilkes, and on and on and on. And so it's all their game-worn jerseys, their shoes, their awards, their trophies, their goggles, their autograph, everything. Shoes, of course, game-worn shoes. And so we've had a lot of fun with it. And especially going to games and having people come over and watch games and all that. And it's been something I never could imagine ever happened. I just wanted to find a few game-worn jerseys in the mid-'80s, and it kind of
exploded
over the last
At least
35
you
years.
love it. Yeah, I know as a collector, you know the story about the lawyer that gets from his mother-in-law an elephant, and he has to keep it on his desk because it's his mother-in-law, and every gift for the next 35 years. So when his office is full of elephants in 35 years, the lady's like, "You must love elephants." Like, no, actually, I hate it. You at least were smart enough to do something that you loved.
Yeah.
And real quickly, we're not going to talk value because it's priceless in here, and you can imagine what this place is worth. But so people get an idea of how long a 35-year collection takes. How many items, or approximately how many items are in here?
Over 2,000 items, and it's room has obviously become an issue, but we've had some fun with it. We've displayed a couple other items at Staples Center when the Lakers were there. They displayed some stuff during the All-Star game and their playoffs, so we had fun with that. And hopefully someday maybe this might end up in a public venue. I wanted to actually loan it for free to the Lakers and put it in Staples Center, but they just couldn't put that all together with a couple of the other.
Couldn't insure it.
They couldn't insure it. Yeah, well, they have a couple other tenants there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I wish they had their own stadium, but hopefully someday it'll end up in the right venue, and we have some ideas. But people love seeing this. The history of this important franchise, of all their championships, all their tons of Hall of Famers. And it's been great. A lot of the players have come over, Magic Johnson, Jerry West. A lot of them come over the years, and that's a thrill when they come and they see their stuff here. And
they get excited.
Oh, yeah.
And then they offer other things. You're talking with and learning from the world's most predominantly successful collector, and that's David Kohler. He is the founder and CEO of SCP Auctions. If you know anyone or have anything, this is the guy to ask for advice from and define, because he's going to know exactly how to make the most money, help the most people, and have the most fun with what you love. Doesn't matter what sports, music or entertainment. David's your man. So thank you so much, Dave, for joining me on the Playbook. Really fun. Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.